Thank you very much, and thank you for being here tonight. So this evening, I'm here to share with you a set of stories, and these are stories that I will tell as a ballad singer tells stories by singing them to you. And they're the stories of people who lived through World War I, not just soldiers, but also civilians, men, women, children, people who lost their lives in the war, and people who came back and how they carried that memory forward for the rest of their lives. It's a very emotional program because it's a very emotional topic. I'm not going to give a history lecture, nor am I a historian, but I'll give a couple of background notes, just enough for you to have the background or know the vocabulary that are in the song so that you're able to appreciate the stories. So, as most of you probably recognize, the title of my program comes from a book that was written by H.G. Wells at the beginning of World War I that explained why it was so important to the Allies to enter this war and why he believed that this would be the war that would put an end to war for all time, a hope that obviously was not realized. But on that hope, more than 1 million young men showed up on the very first day that England recruited volunteers to go fight the war. And this is a picture of a crowd of men waiting to enlist. But none of them knew what it would be like when they got there. It entailed living in muddy, cold trenches like this, and that was the good part of the job, because if you weren't in the trenches, you were being sent over the top to face terrifying machine gun fire in the hope of gaining a few feet of ground and making it to the enemy trench or another trench that might be only a few feet away. So as you can imagine, all of these soldiers who were told they'd be home by Christmas and were not, were pretty homesick by that time. And this map shows in the dashed line, so there's Germany on the right and Belgium on the top and part of France to the left there. And the dashed line shows how close the German forces came to Paris at their furthest forward line. And the solid line shows where the line between the Germans and the Allies stood in December of 1914. And I pick out that date because something really miraculous happened in December of 1914, which, because of the centennial of the war, many people are now aware of. And that is that the soldiers, the homesick young soldiers on both sides, tried to celebrate Christmas in the trenches. I'm going to sing you a song about that now. In the year 1914, on Christmas Day, on the Western Front, the guns all died away, and lying in the mud on bags of sand, we heard a German voice from no man's land. He had a tenor voice so clear and true. The words were strange, but every note we knew. Soaring o'er the living, dead and damned, a German sang of peace in no man's land. Silent night, no cannons roar. A king is born of peace forevermore. All's calm, all's bright, all brothers hand in hand. A German sang of peace from no man's land. We slowly left our trenches and they left theirs. Beneath tin hats the smiles bloomed like wildflowers. With photos, cigarettes, and flasks of wine, we made a soldier's truce on that front line. The singer was a lad of 21. We begged another song before the dawn, and sitting amidst carnage, pain, and fear, we heard once more those words all longed to hear. Silent night, no cannons roar. A king is born of peace forevermore. All's calm, all's bright, all brothers hand in hand. A soldier's prayer of peace in no man's land. But in the morning, all the guns roared in the rain, and they killed us and we killed them again, with bullets, bayonets, bombs, gas, and flame. Neither them nor us at all to blame. There was heavy fighting all throughout that day. For one night's peace we bitterly did pay. At night they stormed and we fought them hand to hand. And I shot the lad who sang in no man's land. Stille Nacht, heilige Nacht, alles schläft, einsam wacht, nur das traute hochheilige Paar. Oh, der Knabe mit lockigen Haar, schlaf in himmlischer Ruhe, schlaf in himmlischer Ruhe. And his ghostly voice still rings as the dead young soldier sings, and the captains and the kings make no man's land. Thank you. So the picture you were watching while I sang was a trench on the German side, Germans with a little tree singing Christmas carols. And this truce that I sing of, the people in that song were fictional, but a truce like this broke out not just once, but dozens of times at different places all along the front. And we know this because we got letters home from soldiers and photographs like these of troops wearing the uniforms on both sides of the conflict, being photographed together on Christmas Day. A truly remarkable event. But of course, the leaders knew that they wouldn't be able to hold their line or reach their objectives if these men were allowed to stay at the front. So they were mostly sent on leave and replaced with fresh troops who continued the fight. So now I'm going to turn to a new story, and this story concerns a young soldier from Australia, one of the earlier countries to become engaged in the conflict on the Allied side. And I just need to introduce a little background for anyone who's not Australian. This man here is a swagman, that's like a hobo, and in Australia, especially at that time around the turn of the previous century. This was a very romanticized character in Australia because it represented the Australian love of freedom and independence, and it was kind of a romantic lifestyle that many young people took up, to wear a backpack, carry a pack, and travel around the country, sort of living off the land as a free spirit. And the pack that they carry, that this man has on his back, is called a Matilda. That's what they call their backpack. And an extremely popular song of the day, still popular in Australia today, is Waltzing Matilda. And this is a cheerful children's song about a swag man. And Waltzing Matilda means hiking with your backpack. And the song, it was so popular that it was also often played by military bands in World War I as a patriotic song. And so we'll hear about Waltzing Matilda in this song, and I wanted you to know what that refers to. But the song takes place here, and so this is the Dardanelles. Again, I'm not going to go through the military history, but this was where the character we will meet today is sent to fight at Gallipoli, and I'll bring you that story now. When I was a young man, I carried my pack, and I lived the free life of a rover. From the Murray's green basin to the dusty outback, I waltzed my Matilda all over. Then in 1915, my country said, "Son, it's time to quit rambling, there's work to be done." And they gave me a tin hat, and they gave me a gun, and they sent me away to the war. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as our ship pulled away from the quay. And amidst all the cheers, flag waving and tears, we sailed off to Gallipoli. Oh, it's well I remember that terrible day, how blood-stained the sand and the water, and how in that hell that they call Suvla Bay, we were butchered like lambs at the slaughter. Johnny Turk, he was ready, he'd primed himself well. He chased us with bullets, he rained us with shell. And in 5 minutes flat, he'd blown us all to hell. Nearly blew us right back to Australia. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as we stopped there to bury our slain. We buried ours, the Turks buried theirs. Then it started all over again. Those who were left, we just tried to survive in a mad world of guns, death, and fire. And for 10 weary weeks I kept myself alive, though the corpses around me piled higher. Then a big Turkish shell knocked me ass overhead, and when I woke up in my hospital bed, I saw what it had done, and I wished I was dead. I never knew there was worse things than dying. For I'll go no more waltzing Matilda all around the green fields far and near. For to pack tent and pegs, a man needs 2 legs. No more waltzing Matilda for me. They gathered the crippled, the wounded and maimed, and they shipped us back home to Australia. The armless, the legless, the blind, the insane, proud wounded heroes of Suvla. And as our ship pulled into Circular Quay, I looked at the place where my legs used to be, and thanked Christ there was no one there waiting for me to grieve and to mourn and to pity. And the band played Waltzing Matilda as they carried us down the gangway, but nobody cheered. They just stood and stared. And then they all turned their faces away. And now every April I sit on my porch and I watch the parade pass before me. And I see my old comrades, how proudly they march, reliving old dreams and past glory. The old men march slowly, all bent, stiff and sore, tired old men from a forgotten war. The young people ask, what are they marching for? I ask myself the same question. But the band played Waltzing Matilda, so the old man answered the call. Year by year, their numbers grow fewer. Someday no one will march there at all. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, who will go waltzing Matilda with me? And their ghosts can be seen as they march around the billabong. Who will go waltzing Matilda with me? The next song, I am going to give a wee bit of military history because it was something I didn't know anything about before I learned this song. So this is going to be a song, we're moving forward in the history of the war to 1916 and the Battle of Jutland, which was the great naval battle of World War I. As I'm to understand that these British ships, which are just making their way to the Battle of Jutland, was a new breed of fighter ships. They had incredibly strong, heavy armor that would be able to resist the kind of artillery that had been experienced in previous wars, so they were confident of victory. But what they did not realize is that artillery had improved and that the boats had vulnerable spots, and all the armor made them so heavy that if they were hit, they sank very rapidly. As a result of which, most of the fleet was sunk in the Battle of Jutland, and most of the sailors could not get out fast enough because the boats sank so fast, and so most of the sailors lost their lives. This is one of the German boats. It's not a U-boat. It's not supposed to be half underwater. The Germans fared a little better in the sense that their boats didn't sink as fast, so most of their sailors were able to get off, and they were even able to tow their sinking boats home, as they are this one. The Germans declared victory, and this is a propaganda poster in which they're boasting about how many more men the English lost and naming all of the ships that they sunk. And the astonishing thing to me about this entire story, this is a map of where it happened up in the North Sea, where we have Scotland on the left and Denmark on the right there. And if you ever have a chance to look at this map in more detail, you'll see that the entire Battle of Jutland, all of this happened in a single day in 1916. And although the English took heavy losses, the Germans were sufficiently intimidated by what they met that they didn't choose to fight any further battles on the sea after that one until World War II. One other detail to know before I sing this song is that in England, a sailor's girlfriend is known as his Nancy. And so we're going to hear a song from the point of view of several sailors' girlfriends, and they'll all be called Nancy, who's about their lovers going off to fight in this battle. Where are you going, my Billy-o? Where are you going, my Billy-o? I'm joining a ship at Scapa Flow. That's where I'm going, my Nancy-o. I'm joining the Black Prince, Nancy-o. I'm joining the Black Prince, Nancy-o. She's bristling with guns and ready to go. Sail off to glory with Jellicoe. But where is the Black Prince? Gone now. And where is the glory? Gone now. And 6,000 sailors gone now. They have gone to the bottom at Jutland. Where are you going, my Rodney-o? Where are you going, my Rodney-o? I'm joining a ship at Scapa Flow. That's where I'm going, my Nancy-o. I'm joining Invincible Nancy-o. I'm joining Invincible Nancy-o. She's bristling with guns and ready to go. Sail off to glory with Jellicoe. But where is Invincible? Gone now. And where is the glory? Gone now. And 6,000 sailors gone now. They are gone to the bottom at Jutland. Where are you going, my Tommy-o? Where are you going, my Tommy-o? I'm joining a ship at Scapa Flow. That's where I'm going, my Nancy-o. I'm joining the Queen Mary, Nancy-o. I'm joining the Queen Mary, Nancy-o. She's bristling with guns and ready to go. Sail off to glory with Jellicoe. But where is the Queen Mary? Gone now. And where is the glory? Gone now. And 6,000 sailors gone now. They have gone to the bottom at Jutland. So the next song I'm going to sing for you is a story about soldiers who had been given leave, as they had to be every so often, to get out of the trenches and have a few days of leave. The mental harm, the emotional and mental suffering of the people who worked in the trenches is, I'm sure I can't even imagine. The term shell shock came into existence during that time, which we now know as PTSD. So this song, which was actually written by an American, but it's from the point of view of a Parisian woman, a courtesan, who's meeting these men who are on leave from the trenches, knowing that a few days later they would have to go back to the trenches, and trying to figure out what this might mean for them and how she can bring them anything resembling comfort or relief. The strange young man who comes to me, a soldier on a 3-day spree. He needs one night's cheap ecstasy and a woman's arms to hide him. He greets me with a courtly bow and hides his pain by acting proud. But he drinks too much and he laughs too loud. How can I deny him? Let us dance beneath the moon. I will sing to you, Clair de Lune. Morning always comes too soon, but for tonight the war is over. He speaks to me in schoolboy French of a soldier's life inside a trench, and the look of death and the ghastly stench. I do my best to please him. He puts 2 roses in a vase, 2 roses sadly out of place, like the gallant smile on his haggard face. Playfully I tease him. Hold me 'neath the Paris sky. Let's not talk of how and why. Tomorrow's soon enough to die. For tonight the war is over. We make love too hard, too fast. He falls asleep, his face a mask. He wakes with the shakes and drinks from his flask. I put my arms around him. Oh, they die in the trenches, they die in the air. In Belgium and France, the dead are everywhere. They're dying so fast, there's no time to prepare a decent grave to surround them. Old world glory, old world fame, the old world's gone up in flame. Nothing will ever be the same. Nothing lasts forever. I'd pray for him, but I've forgotten how. And there's nothing that could save him now. But there's always another with that same courtly bow. And who am I to deny him? Let us dance beneath the moon. I will sing to you, Clair de Lune. Morning always comes too soon, but for tonight the war is over. Light-a-light-a-dum, la-da-dai, light-a-da-da-da-da-dum, light-a-da-da-dum, la-da-dai. Tonight the war is over. So the next song brings me to the topic of the Red Cross. In addition to the red poppies, which you're probably familiar with, that we often wear to recognize veterans and people who were killed in World War I and in wars in general, I also put baskets of white roses with the red ribbons, which is to commemorate all the medics who go and risk their own lives in war fronts in order to try and save lives by bringing medical relief to both the military and the civilians that are affected by the war. And the most famous organization that does this, the International Red Cross, was a tiny, obscure volunteer organization before World War I broke out. And it exploded into gigantic proportions during World War I and became the huge international charity that we know today. And the first song that I'm going to sing is about the medics who served in the field during World War I. I should mention that at the time of World War I, a popular song came out on the gramophones called The Roses of No Man's Land, which became universally the term by which the Red Cross were known during World War I. Jim lay alone by a roadside in Flanders, blown from his horse in a sky full of lead. Along came a voice as if spoken from nowhere. You'll be all right, lad, there are far worse than you. Just a few pills and a mouthful of water gave him the hope and the strength to go on. But then the rosebud had left him to tend to another, a father, a brother, a husband, a son. Where are the roses of no man's land? Where are the roses who held out a hand to the frightened and injured, wounded and dying? Where are the roses that flowered in hell? After the shelling, a boy he lay buried. Nobody knew he was missing at all. But a hand brushed his finger, and a voice cried, "One here, sir." And men dug like demons, and from death he was saved. "Boy, am I glad to see you," said the young man. "It's lucky we found you," said the man with no gun. And then the rosebud had left him to tend to another, a father, a brother, a husband, a son. Where are the roses of no man's land? Where are the roses who held out a hand to the frightened and injured, the wounded and dying? Where are the roses that flowered in hell? Who were these roses that grew in the meadows and looked on the slaughter of the khaki and gray? With a bag full of potions and an armor of courage, who searched for the living by night and by day. What kind of man does it take to keep helping when inside he's screaming for the will to go on? But he knew he was needed. to tend to another, a father, a brother, a husband, a son. These were the roses of no man's land. These were the roses who held out a hand to the injured and frightened, the wounded and dying. These were the roses who flowered in hell. In addition to working at the battlefront, they also made numerous field hospitals where the wounded were taken for longer-term care and surgery. And of course, it wasn't only men who served in the Red Cross and in the military medical service. There was an unprecedented number of women sent to battlefronts in World War I because of the recruitment of women to become skilled nurses and join the Red Cross. And many, many nurses went to serve, and many died during World War I. And the next song is an interesting one about a couple from Severn in England. And he wanted to go serve in the war, but he wasn't allowed to because of a medical condition. But she did go and serve as a nurse and was sent to the Battle of the Somme. And this next song is their story. The swan picks o'er the flooded fields, the heron hunts, the hawthorn brake. The winter streams have drowned the land, the green grass turned to Silver Lake. And on the dark and dreary days I tend my flock upon the hill, and think on you so far away, and wish that you were with me still. Like Severn's floods, the storms of war have drowned our hopes of you and I. With deadly skill the soldiers kill, and lords and lowly learn to die. To serve my king and those I love, I would have gone to play my part. But the doctors spared me for the hills, to ease my over-tender heart. You smiled so sadly when you said, though I'd remain, I'd be alone. The carriage window framed your face above your spotless uniform. For women too must go to war, although they face a different fight, and use their skills on broken men, and help them face their fears at night. I'd read your letters on the hill. You spoke of madness, mud, and pain, and how tired you were, and how angry with the waste of life for little gain. and of quieter days when guns were cool and blackbirds sang where woods had gone, and how you longed to smell again a rose from Severn by the Somme. I've walked the twisted woods and fields that 50 years of healing soothed, but the painful harvest garnered here defies a man to stand unmoved. I've seen the grave in which you lay, my tears have washed the snowy stone, and there I left a single flower, a rose from Severn by the Somme. So as was mentioned in some of the stories, at the time the battles were going on, there was no possibility of sending the bodies of the fallen soldiers home or even arranging proper burials. So makeshift graveyards, like shown in this old photograph, were hastily constructed to bury the dead at the ends of battles. And people noticed that where people had been buried, the grave sites sprang up with red poppies. And the reason for this, which had been noted even earlier than World War I, is that the poppy is like the most tenacious weed or wildflower of that region. And so in the mud, when everything else has been turned over and destroyed, is the first thing that springs up. And so it became a symbol of the people who fell in battle in World War I. And early in the war, I think it was 1915, a Canadian poet, a medic, on the occasion of burying some of the members of his regiment, wrote a poem called In Flanders Fields, which made the poppy famous as a symbol of World War I. And this is a memorial that was put together at the centenary of World War I in England, in which the artist made a glass red poppy to represent every single soldier that died in World War I from England, and then planted them around. They had to go a long way to find room for them all. So I'm going to share with you the poem of Flanders Fields. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place. And in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved, and were loved. And now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If you break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Fields. All of those makeshift graves were moved to proper cemeteries, and all of this region of France and Belgium are full of World War I memorial cemeteries. This is one in France. And the next story I'm going to share with you is a kind of a change of perspective. It has to do with people in the next generation coming to these graveyards to try and understand history and understand the past. And it's a person walking up to the gravestone of some anonymous soldier they didn't know and trying to understand or fathom what that person's experience might have been. In the song, it mentions many of the honorary burial traditions of many different English-speaking countries. You'll probably recognize the fife and drum or the rifle, firing a rifle when fallen soldiers are buried. You might not know that the last post is a bugle call, which I believe is from Canada, and the Flowers of the Forest is played on bagpipes for military dead in Scotland. So that's what those references mean.
How do you do, Private William McBride? Do you mind if I sit here down by your graveside and rest for a while from the hot summer sun? I've been walking all day and I'm nearly done. I see by your gravestone you were only 19 when you joined the glorious fallen in 1916. I hope you died quick and I hope you died clean. Oh, Willie McBride, was it slow and obscene? Did they beat the drums slowly? Did they play the fife lowly? Did the rifles fire on you as they lowered you down? Did the bugles sing last post in chorus? Did the pipes play the flowers of the forest? And did you leave a wife or a sweetheart behind? In some faithful heart is your memory enshrined. And although you died back in 1916, in her faithful heart are you always 19? Or are you a face without even a name, forever encased behind some glass pane, in an old photograph torn and tattered and stained, and fading to yellow in a brown leather frame? Did they beat the drum slowly? Did they play the fife lowly? Did rifles fire on you as they lowered you down? Did the bugles sing last post in chorus? Did the pipes play the flowers of the forest? The sun shines down on these green fields of France. A warm wind blows gently, the red poppies dance. The trenches have vanished long under the plough. No gas, no barbed wire, no guns firing now. But here in this graveyard it's still no man's land, and countless white crosses in mute witness stand to man's blind indifference to his fellow man, and a whole generation that were butchered and damned. Did they play the fife lowly? Did they beat the drum slowly? Did rifles fire on you as they lowered you down? Did bugles sing last post in chorus? Did Did the pipes play the flowers of the forest? And I can't help but wonder now, Willie McBride, do all those who lie here know why he died? Did you all believe when they told you the cause? Did you all believe that this war would end wars? Well, the suffering, the sorrow, the glory, the shame, the killing, the dying, it was all done in vain. For Willie McBride it all happened again, and again, and again, and again, and again. Did they beat the drum slowly? Did they play the pipe lowly? Did rifles fire on you as they lowered you down? Did the bugles sing last post in chorus? Did the pipes play the flowers of the forest? Did bugles sing last post in chorus? Did the pipes play the flowers of the forest?
Our next song takes us to another graveyard. This is a photograph of the World War I, one of the World War I graveyards in Polkapelle. And many people make a pilgrimage to this particular graveyard to seek out a gravestone which belongs to an Irish soldier named John Condon, because he was believed to be the youngest soldier killed in World War I. At the age of 14 years, he lied about his age to join the Royal Irish Regiment. You can see the harp and crown symbol on his gravestone tells you that that was his regiment. And even when it's not an official holiday, you can see his gravestone surrounded by these little memorial crosses with the poppies on them from people who come to somehow reflect on the tragedy of youth lost in war in general. And the song I'm going to sing now is about John Condon, but I think it's really about youth and people whose lives are cut short by war and the great loss to all of society and to them.
Just today, another day, beneath the Belgian sun, past row on row, past grave on grave, until I find the name John Condon, carved in stone, with harp and crown, little crosses in the ground. And standing there, my silent prayer is for a boy who died a soldier, young man who won't grow old, hero who won't come home. Here they lie in Belgian fields and at Picardy, just a recruit for soldiers' boots from Ireland's shores to here. This living hell, this Polkapelle, where young man fell
crosses in the ground. Stand up in proof, the bitter truth, the loss of youth that lies forgotten. Young men who won't grow old, heroes that won't come home. Here they lie in Belgian fields and at Picardy. Now tell me, John, before I go on, what did you come here for? With Ireland's bold, your life untold, 14 years old to die a soldier. And all around the harp and crown, crosses in the ground. What cause was served, so undeserved? Sing out for all their souls. Here they lie in Belgian fields and at Picardy. We're to the very last song and story I'm going to share you. And it brings us, I imagine, to another cemetery like this one. This was in a memorial in France to the Australian soldiers who died in World War I. And the story we're going to hear is about a veteran, an Australian, who survived the war, maybe with wounds that were not visible to others, and has come back to pay his respects to his buddy who saved his life but died in the war. And it's an expression of gratitude and remembrance, and I thought it was an appropriate note to end on. That cemeteries like that one many of them have walls in which the names of the thousands of missing are also inscribed. Many bodies were never found. Well, old friend, here I am. I told you I'd be back. As usual, mate, I'm bloody late. It's 75 years down the track. But for one last time, here I stand in this familiar foreign land, back with the mates I left behind, fixed forever in their time. But of all the ghosts of all the boys that haunt this lonely place, only one of them wears your cheerful grin and your Queensland joker's face. Sometimes I drown in bloody dreams of young men's helpless dying screams, and I feel your hand give my arm a shake and your voice say, "Steady, mate." The country that you died for, mate, you wouldn't know it now. The future that we dreamed of got twisted up somehow. And that cause that we were fighting for, the end to stupid, senseless war, so it couldn't happen to our kids, Well, guess what, mate? It did. But thank you for the gift of years and the flame that's